This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
In Chicago, ice-free zones, lawsuits, and more National Guard troops.
How they have it under control, they don't.
I'm Rich Johnson.
President Trump seemingly hopeful about a deal to reopen the federal government.
Up till now, there hasn't been a great deal of pain.
I'm Clayton Neville.
The CDC is no longer recommending COVID-19 shots for all, leaving the decision to patients. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The government shutdown is putting an increasing amount of economic data on the back burner as it decides on future interest rate policy. I'm Peter Schacknow.
NFL star in trouble with the law and a former special prosecutor under the microscope facing their own investigation.
A deadly tornado in North Dakota this summer has been upgraded to a top-of-the-scale EF5. I'm Julie Walker.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Following Oregon's lead, Illinois and the city of Chicago are suing the Trump administration to try and keep National Guard troops out of the Windy City. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports that's just one of several developments in the battles over immigration enforcement.
The verbal war between Illinois Governor J.D. Pritzker and President Trump over the state of things in Chicago got very heated.
And then I listened to the governor and the mayor get up and say how they have it under control. They don't. It's probably worse than almost any city in the world.
Donald Trump's deranged depiction of Chicago as a hellhole, a war zone, and the worst and most dangerous city in the world was just complete BS.
Pritzker was joined by Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson in a news conference to announce the suit to keep any state's National Guard troops off the streets of Chicago. Federal Judge April Perry set a midnight Wednesday deadline for a response from the federal government and has scheduled a Thursday hearing. In the meantime, Mayor Johnson has signed a new executive order.
The order establishes ice-free zones,
Which means
city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
like the raid last week in which ICE agents rappelled from helicopters onto the roof of a Chicago apartment building, forced entry into apartments, then took people from their homes. Meanwhile, in the Chicago suburb of Broadview, the mayor has signed an executive order limiting protests outside the ICE facility to between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. The leader of Illinois State House Republicans, Tony McCombie, tells WLS-TV that's a good idea.
And ICE has a right to protect their own property, and so they need some assistance.
As for the bigger picture, Governor Pritzker says calling out the National Guard is just political theater by the president.
To create the pretext for invoking the Insurrection Act so that he can send military troops to our city.
To which the president responds,
We have an insurrection act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that.
I'm Rich Johnson.
2 votes in the Senate on Monday showed the battle lines are solidly against compromise, and the government shutdown enters another day with no signs of a deal in sight. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports President Trump remains hopeful on what has been a non-starter for Democrats.
2 measures to end the shutdown and fund the government failed on Monday for a 5th time in the Senate. A House-passed deal would keep the government open until November 21st, but Senate Democrats are not on board with that deal. As the shutdown reaches a week since it started, there are concerns among government employees like air traffic controllers and an already strained industry.
There's controllers that have called out sick, so we're tracking it, and I don't have a continual problem in one area, right? There's been one facility one day, another facility another day.
U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says that in some areas there's been a 50% reduction in staffing.
They're thinking about, am I going to get a paycheck? And so now what they think about as they're controlling our airspace is, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How do I make my car payment?
The blame game continues on Capitol Hill as Republicans blame Democrats, and Democratic leaders like House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries insist that his party's willing to come to the table.
Anytime, any place with anyone from your administration, including the president, to get a resolution here.
But the hiccup surrounds health care.
Premiums, copays, and deductibles for tens of millions of Americans are skyrocketing all across the country in a manner that will deprive people of health insurance or lead to medical bankruptcy.
President Donald Trump told reporters this week that the damage from a shutdown has been minimal to this point.
Up till now, there hasn't been a great deal of pain. There could be a great deal of pain, but up till now, there hasn't been. I will say this, just hang in there, because I think a lot of good things are going to happen.
And when asked whether or not negotiations can be made on health care,
we are speaking with the Democrats, and some very good things could happen with respect to health care.
House Speaker Mike Johnson canceled plans for the House to return to Washington this week. He said there's nothing left for them to negotiate and that the lower chamber has, quote, done its job. I'm Clayton Neville.
Former NFL quarterback stabbed. What investigators are saying after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Some unsettled weather. As Tuesday unfolds, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Brian Thompson.
It's been a very warm couple of days across much of the Northeast into the Mid-Atlantic, but we're going to start to see that warm air get pushed out, although it is still going to be a warm day today for much of New England, down through New York City, Philadelphia, down toward Baltimore and Washington. High temperatures near or above 80 in many spots. But as you get across interior parts of New York State and Pennsylvania and farther west toward the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes, high temperatures today mostly in the 60s and 70s as some cooler air is starting to move on in, and that's being accompanied by a cold front that is moving eastward, and that's going to continue to press eastward today, bringing some showers and some thunderstorms from upstate New York through central and western Pennsylvania and Ohio, Indiana, down through Kentucky as well. Could be some heavier downpours, some slow travel in some spots as well, with some of these showers and storms that move on through, and these will eventually reach the eastern seaboard toward the I-95 corridor as we head into tonight and into tomorrow morning. Still some spotty showers and storms through Tennessee and down to the Gulf Coast, really all along the Gulf Coast, with some spotty showers and storms today. Pretty quiet through most of the rest of the plains. Still watching some pockets of heat in Texas, where highs will be in the 90s today, Dallas and Houston over towards San Antonio, and still some heat in the desert Southwest, pushing 100 in Phoenix today. And across the Central Valley of California, highs still up near 90 today. It is going to be another dry day along the West Coast from Washington State down through California. And that's the weather across America. In Cleveland today, cloudy and cooler. We'll have a few showers, even a thunderstorm, a high near 70. And a beautiful day in Seattle today, lots of sunshine and a high of 72. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Brian Thompson.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. More details are being learned about a former NFL quarterback and Fox Sports analyst now facing charges after he was stabbed during a weekend altercation in Indiana. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
Mark Sanchez was pepper sprayed and stabbed multiple times during a late-night altercation Saturday with a 69-year-old truck driver in an Indianapolis alley, which resulted in criminal charges against the Fox Sports analyst, according to court records filed Sunday.
The allegations involve a 38-year-old man becoming involved in an altercation with a 69-year-old man who sustained significant and very severe injuries as a result of that altercation.
A police affidavit alleges that Sanchez smelled of alcohol and accosted the driver at a hotel's loading docks, leading to a confrontation outside the vehicle that prompted the driver to defensively pull out a knife.
The probable cause outlines kind of the initial nature of that dispute. We are literally talking about people fighting over a parking space, or a dispute about where people are parking, and it resulted in someone receiving just incredibly significant injury.
Sanchez was in stable condition after being hospitalized with stab wounds to his upper right torso. I'm Gethin Coolball.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is releasing new coronavirus guidelines. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports the new directive now urges people to first consult with a doctor before making their decision to get the vaccine.
The CDC is no longer recommending COVID-19 shots for all, leaving the decision to patients. The Centers for Disease Control announced the change, saying people should decide for themselves in consultation with a medical professional if they need a COVID-19 shot. That goes along with the decision last month by an advisory panel handpicked by U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Before this year, U.S. health officials recommended annual COVID-19 boosters for all Americans ages 6 months and older. The idea was to update protection against the coronavirus as it continues to evolve. I'm Haya Panjwani.
In sports, from the NFL, it was a comeback win Monday night as the Jacksonville Jaguars defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 31-28. The Jags were down 14-0 at one point. When we return on America in the Morning, shutdown continues, key economic data on hold after these messages. In for CNBC's Jessica Ettinger, here's Peter Schacknow with Tuesday Business.
Today's scheduled U.S. trade deficit figures are the latest casualty of the government shutdown. Last week saw the September jobs report postponed, along with the Labor Department's weekly look at first-time jobless claims. And if the shutdown continues, next week's scheduled release of key inflation data could also be in jeopardy. That's a big problem for Federal Reserve policymakers, according to former Boston Fed President Eric Rosengren, who says relying on privately generated data like the ADP jobs report isn't enough.
It's not the same kind of sample that the Labor Department provides. So it's not that great for the Federal Reserve to have to be dealing with noisier data. But in circumstances like this, they really have no choice.
The stock market is seemingly unbothered by the shutdown or pretty much anything else, with the S&P 500 at another record high. This is extremely worrisome to Paul Tudor Jones, the veteran investor who says it feels a lot like late 1999, just before the internet bubble burst.
I don't know whether we'll actually replay it exactly, but I think all the ingredients are in place. And certainly from a trading standpoint, you have to position yourself like it's October 99. I don't see why you would do anything but that.
One of the newest areas of the economy and one of the oldest, both involved in multi-billion-dollar deals. First, the old, Cincinnati-based Fifth Third is buying rival regional bank Comerica in a stock swap deal worth nearly $11 billion. And as for the new, OpenAI, the company that operates ChatGPT, has struck a deal with Advanced Micro Devices to supply it with artificial intelligence chips as it continues to expand capacity. Chris Casso is senior analyst with Wolfe Research.
You had previously the announcement with NVIDIA for about 10 gigawatts of capacity. You've now got AMD with 6 gigawatts of capacity, and the capacity itself is a competitive advantage. So they're moving really fast. They're securing deals. They had a deal with Broadcom, again, that they announced on the earnings call. So OpenAI is making some moves here.
As part of the deal, OpenAI also received the option to buy up to 10% of Advanced Micro Devices. Exports of U.S. spirits fell 9% during the second quarter, according to the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States. The industry trade group warns that trade tensions are hitting demand for those products in key markets. We'll see if that's reflected at all in the latest earnings report from Constellation Brands, which will be out this afternoon. Constellation makes a variety of spirits as well as Corona beer. Tesla is about to make an announcement today of what we don't exactly know. The electric car maker teased the event in a social media post but gave no details. It did post a video that showed a car with its headlights on and the vehicle's body cloaked in darkness.
The mystery continues. CNBC's Peter Schacknow. Massive tornado in an unlikely spot. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Former special counsel Jack Smith was allegedly tracking the private communications and phone calls of nearly a dozen Republican senators as part of his investigation into the January 6th Capitol riots. Fox News is reporting that Smith allegedly tracked the phone calls of 9 GOP senators, including Missouri's Josh Hawley, Tennessee's Marsha Blackburn, South Carolina's Lindsey Graham, and Alabama's Tommy Tuberville. The document recently discovered by FBI Director Kash Patel is titled CAST Assistance and dated September 27, 2023. CAST refers to the FBI's Cellular Analysts Survey Team. Hawley has called for a full Justice Department investigation. Shifting gears, a storm strong enough to pick up a train car and toss it nearly 500 feet. The National Weather Service has upgraded a deadly tornado that ripped through a small town in North Dakota to its highest rating, an EF5, packing wind speeds of more than 200 miles per hour and leaving 3 people dead. More on the story from correspondent Julie Walker.
Meteorologists say a deadly tornado in North Dakota this summer has been upgraded to a top-of-the-scale EF5, the first on American soil in 12 years. Melinda Behrens is meteorologist in charge at the National Weather Service in Grand Forks.
Very historic. We've only had 9 EF5 strength tornadoes since we adopted the EF scale in 2007, and this will be the 10th.
The twister killed 3 people, toppled train cars full of grain, a cell tower, and wiped out farmsteads.
It looked consistent with EF5 wind speeds, which is greater than 201 miles an hour.
In the U.S., a 1999 Oklahoma tornado holds the record of the strongest winds ever recorded, 321 miles per hour, since the Weather Service began using the EF scale. I'm Julie Walker.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, October 7th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The governor of Illinois and the Chicago mayor are suing to block the plan to deploy National Guard troops into the city. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Congress remains at an impasse on the government shutdown.
I don't have anything to give.
Sagar Meghani at the White House.
3-year-old text messages lead to calls for a political candidate to step down. I'm Joan Jones.
Another Texas Republican throws his hat into the ring in what's becoming a crowded field for Senate. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Supreme Court has rejected an appeal from Ghislaine Maxwell. Mike Hemp in Washington.
Canadian band Rush has announced a reunion tour. I'm Ed Donahue.
Back after these messages. Welcome back, and thanks for listening. This is America in the Morning. At the national map with today's outlook, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Some rain is going to continue to press eastward today across the Ohio and Tennessee valleys and start to move into upstate New York and western parts of Pennsylvania as the day goes on, even down through West Virginia. So there could be some downpours, some reduced visibility, some slow travel. This is much needed rainfall. Many places have not seen rain in the last 7 to 10 days. But again, could come down hard enough to cause maybe some ponding on roads for a brief time with some of those downpours. Still dry along the East Coast today from Boston down to D.C. That will change, though, into tonight and tomorrow as this cold front approaches. Out ahead of the front, still highs near 80 today from New England down through New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington. Highs in the 80s down through the Carolinas as well. We're still going to be seeing some showers and thunderstorms through portions of the southeast. Not as wet of a day across Florida as we've been seeing lately. And really along the Gulf Coast, a lot of these shower and thunderstorm activity is going to be pretty spotty. Pretty hot across Texas today. Many spots near or above 90. And then farther north, we do have that cooler air starting to move in through the northern plains. We have temperatures for highs in the 50s and 60s today. Certainly cooler across the Great Lakes in the wake of that cold front pushing on through. And still not really too much in the way of rain out west. Across the Rockies, still looking mainly dry. There will be a couple of showers and thunderstorms popping up across parts of New Mexico today, but dry back toward Arizona and into Nevada. We're looking at high temperatures pushing 100 in Phoenix today. Still pretty hot in the deserts of California and through the Central Valley. A nice day, though, in the Pacific Northwest. High temperatures will be in the 70s, some spots still pushing 80, and it looks like a nice day with a fair amount of sunshine. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Brian Thompson.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Both the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois are suing the Trump administration to stop the deployment of National Guard troops to the nation's third largest city. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports the president was asked if he would invoke the Insurrection Act in order to fight crime in some American cities and said to stop crime and protect police, nothing is off the table.
Well, I'd do it if it was necessary. So far, it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. I mean, I want to make sure that people aren't killed.
The governor of Illinois and the Chicago mayor are suing to block the Trump administration's plan to deploy National Guard troops into the city. The lawsuit came just as troops prepared to deploy and hours after a federal judge blocked troops from being sent to Portland, Oregon. Trump had moved to deploy the National Guard in another city on Saturday by authorizing 300 troops to protect federal officers and assets in Chicago.
Donald Trump is using our service members as political props and as pawns in his illegal effort to militarize our nation's cities. There is no invasion here. There is no insurrection here. And local and state law enforcement are on the job and managing what they need to.
Trump had long threatened to send troops into Chicago, but it wasn't immediately clear when or exactly where they would be deployed.
I listened to the governor and the mayor get up and say how they have it under control. They don't. It's probably worse than almost any city in the world. You could go to Afghanistan, you can go to a lot of different places, and they probably marvel at how much crime we have.
The quickly unfolding developments came as the Trump administration is portraying the Democrat-led cities as war-ravaged and lawless amid Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration. The lawsuit alleges that these advances in President Trump's long-declared war on Chicago and Illinois are unlawful and dangerous.
The fact is, we cannot allow them to rampage throughout our city with no checks or balances. Nobody is above the law. If we break the law, you should be held accountable. If Congress will not check this administration, then Chicago will.
I'm Haya Panjwani.
A federal judge for the second time issued a restraining order to block the Trump administration from sending National Guard troops to Oregon, this time from a judge appointed to the bench by President Trump. Governor Gavin Newsom has also filed suit to stop California National Guard troops from being deployed to Oregon. The government shutdown is heading into its second week with no end in sight. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports that 2 votes on Monday in the Senate each failed to move both sides any closer to finding a compromise.
If the Democrats do not vote to open the government, federal workers will not receive their next full paycheck. Additionally, the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children will run out of federal money very soon.
Last Monday, top House Democrat Hakeem Jeffries and Senate counterpart Chuck Schumer were here at the White House to discuss avoiding a shutdown.
Since that point in time, Republicans, including Donald Trump, have gone radio silent.
Jeffries on NBC's Meet the Press. Today, he's challenging Speaker Mike Johnson to a debate on the House floor.
We don't need to waste time on that nonsense. Those debates have been had. It's shameless. It is sad. Real people are hurting, and it needs to end. And I sure pray, and I hope you all will, that a handful of additional common sense people on the Democrat side will change their votes, reopen the government.
Johnson says Democrats are desperate to negotiate, but
there's nothing for us to negotiate or to debate right now because the House already did that. The House did its job. We passed our bill. We did the job to keep the government open, and now it's on the Senate Democrats.
Saying the short-term spending bill the House passed has 0 Republican priorities and is simply a stopgap measure to reopen the government. Both parties are betting public sentiment is on their side and warning Americans are feeling the pain.
Senate Democrats returned to Washington ready to negotiate. We're ready to work with Republicans to reopen the government and end the health care crisis that faces tens of millions of Americans. But it takes 2 sides to have a negotiation.
President Trump has warned federal workers will be fired.
We are speaking with the Democrats, and some very good things could happen with respect to health care. Up till now, there hasn't been a great deal of pain. There could be a great deal of pain, but up till now, there hasn't been. I will say this, just hang in there because I think a lot of good things are going to happen. That's all I can say.
Sagar Meghani at the White House.
In the Middle East, talks are ongoing in Cairo in an effort to enact President Trump's plan to end the war in Gaza and return all hostages to Israel. Correspondent Sam Mednick reports that today's talks come exactly 2 years to the day that Hamas attacked Israel, killing over 1,200 Israelis and taking more than 250 others hostage, which began the Israel-Hamas war.
After 2 years of devastating war in Gaza, there is some hope at a breakthrough. Israel and Hamas are in Egypt meeting with mediators to discuss President Donald Trump's plan. But there is still a lot of questions and uncertainty, and there is no clear way out. While Israel has clobbered its enemies in the Middle East, it hasn't achieved its war goals in Gaza. Hamas has been weakened, but it's not defeated, and there are still hostages that remain there. Hamas has said that it is willing to release the hostages, but it hasn't addressed the issue of disarmament, something that Israel has demanded. Hamas still has influence in dwindled areas of Gaza that are flattened and largely depopulated. And while Israel has had victories, it has come at a huge cost. The country is largely isolated on the global stage more than it's been in recent years. Rights groups and experts have accused it of committing genocide, something that Israel rejects. One of Hamas's goals in attacking on October 7th was to bring the plight of the Palestinians back to the global stage, and it has achieved that. Some Western countries have recognized a Palestinian state, making it extremely hard for that to become a reality. After 2 years of war, tens of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza have been killed. 90% of the population has been displaced, some multiple times, and Israel controls 75% of the territory. And it's unclear how Gaza will rebuild.
Correspondent Sam Mednick. Ghislaine Maxwell rejected Amazon's Prime Day deals. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. A candidate for Attorney General in Virginia is under fire for texts he allegedly sent openly talking about violence against the state's House Speaker and his family. Details from correspondent Joan Jones.
Pressure's mounting for Virginia Democrat Jay Jones to drop out of the race for the Attorney General's office after leaked text messages from 2022 in which he fantasized about shooting then House Speaker Todd Gilbert and his children and wished that the children would die in their mother's arms. Those messages were revealed less than a month after the assassination of Charlie Kirk by a gunman in Utah. In a statement, the Virginia Beach Democratic Committee said it is still supporting Jones and called for all Virginians to line up behind him. Virginia's Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin.
They have got to call for this guy to resign, step down, get out of this race in disgrace, because this is beyond disqualifying.
Jones has since apologized, calling the remarks embarrassing and shameful, and said he had reached out personally to Gilbert and his family, but he also says he's staying in the race. Early voting began last month in Virginia, and as of the first of this month, over 280,000 early votes have already been cast. I'm Joan Jones.
The field in the race for a Texas Senate seat is getting more crowded on the Republican side. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Texas's senior Senator John Cornyn already in a heated race to hang on to his seat before this week's announcement by Houston area Republican Wesley Hunt. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton announced that he was challenging Cornyn earlier this year. Now Hunt officially in the hunt for the Senate seat. An announcement made in a campaign video posted to social media.
Together, we will make America great again.
Hunt responded to critics who say that his bid for the Senate is, quote, a vanity project.
And as someone that has been shot at by a Russian-made .50 caliber machine gun in combat, I take offense to that. As someone that has served in combat and served this country for 8 years, I take offense to that. As a father of 3 children, as a husband, as a citizen, as a Texan, I can assure you this is not a vanity project.
Hunt says that he's running because he doesn't think that Senator Cornyn is doing enough to beat Paxton and believes he can be an alternative.
What I realize is that Texas needs a solution to a problem, and that's why I'm going to be your next senator.
In response to the campaign announcement, Senator Cornyn's camp put out an email highlighting what it called facts about Wesley Hunt. It accused Hunt of not voting for President Trump in 2016 and pointed to Hunt allegedly missing 18% of votes in Congress. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Supreme Court rejects an appeal from the imprisoned former girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
The Supreme Court has rejected an appeal from Ghislaine Maxwell, the former girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein. The court has declined to take up a case that would have brought renewed attention to the sex abuse scandal. Trump's administration, which has been criticized over its refusal to publicly release more investigative Epstein files, had urged the High Court to stay out of the case. Lawyers for Maxwell argued she never should have been tried or convicted for a role in luring teen girls to be sexually abused by Epstein. Maxwell is serving a 20-year prison term. Mike Hempen, Washington.
He told police in the Boston suburb of Brookline he was hunting rats with a pellet gun, but they didn't completely buy his story. He's alleged to have been rodent hunting near a Jewish house of worship during a Yom Kippur service. Authorities arrested 46-year-old Carlos Portugal Gouveia outside of Temple Beth Zion, forcing the synagogue to go into lockdown on the Jewish calendar's most holy day. Gouveia, who is in the country legally, is a visiting professor at Harvard University Law School. Police did not charge the professor with a hate crime because apparently the town of Brookline, since the COVID pandemic, has been dealing with a rat problem. Amazon gears up for their semi-annual Prime Day deals. Chuck Palm has that and his top gadget picks in today's Tech Report.
Amazon Prime Days today and tomorrow, and I have your top 5 Amazon tech deals starting now. Number 5, the all-new revamped Echo Spot compact smart alarm clock with weather display and music playback, down 37% from $80 to $50. Number 4, Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. With voice controls and Alexa, 50% off from $50 to $25. Coming in at number 3, Blink Outdoor 4 Camera. Advanced motion detection and two-way audio with a 2-year battery life. Now only $75. Number 2, the Fire HD 10-inch tablet. Full HD screen, octa-core speed, and 12-hour battery. 50% off, down to $70. And the number 1 Amazon Prime deal, the Echo Show 8. 8-inch smart display with video, recipes, home automation, reduced by 33%. This smart home hub is down to only $100. Leave a comment at chuckpalm.com.
Monday Night Football and more in sports. Today, here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
Monday Night Football, the Jaguars got by the Chiefs 31-28 to wrap up Week 5 in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence each threw for 1 touchdown and ran for another for a 14-14 tie deep into the third quarter. Then Devin Lloyd picked off Mahomes at the goal line and took it 99 yards to the house for Jacksonville's first lead. Kareem Hunt ran for 2 fourth-quarter scores to put KC up with less than 2 minutes to go, but Lawrence drove the Jags downfield, then stumbled on 1st and goal from the 1, but got up and ran in the winning TD.
I mean, I just panicked, honestly, because I was trying to get up to get the ball out of my hands. So the clock, I mean, we didn't have any timeouts. I was really going to just stand up and launch it out of the back of the end zone, but then I had a little bit of a lane, so I took it.
Baseball, the Dodgers fought off the Phillies 4-3 and will take a 2-0 lead in their best-of-5 National League Division Series back home to L.A. Blake Snell and Jesus Luzardo each allowed just 1 hit in 6 scoreless innings. Roki Sasaki on for his 2nd save of the series. Game 3 is tomorrow night. The Brewers outslug the Cubs 7-3. Milwaukee up 2-0 in that series. Seiya Suzuki belted a 3-run homer in the top of the 1st for Chicago, but Andrew Vaughn matched that in the home half. The Brewer bullpen allowed just 1 hit the rest of the way. That series moves to Wrigley Field tomorrow afternoon. Today, it's back to the ALDS for Game 3. The Mariners and the Tigers meet in Detroit, tied at a game apiece. The Blue Jays go for the sweep tonight at Yankee Stadium. That's Tuesday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, SNL gets the evil eye from the White House after these messages. The White House is not happy with the start of the new season of Saturday Night Live. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr looks at the political jabs that got the notice of the executive branch.
The 51st season of Saturday Night Live premiered this weekend, hitting current events and taking some political jabs. In the cold open, Colin Jost played U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth in his speech to military officers at Quantico.
Thanks to failed liberal policies, our Army has never been gayer
and yet it's also never been fatter.
Later in the sketch, James Austin Johnson appeared as President Donald Trump.
I'm just here keeping my eye on SNL, making sure they don't do anything too mean about me.
This is, of course, referencing the administration's alleged influence in Paramount's cancellation of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in July, and last month's temporary suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live on ABC. To hammer the point home, Mikey Day played FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, who targeted Kimmel directly on a podcast in September.
It's actually Brendan, sir.
Oh, it's crazy you think I care. Bye.
When asked about the president's thoughts on the sketch, in an email to Entertainment Weekly, White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson called the show a waste of time and said, quote, "I have more entertaining things to do, like watch paint dry." The president has a history of watching and reacting to parodies of himself. During his first campaign for president, he spoke to Extra about Alec Baldwin's popular impersonation of him.
He's portraying somebody who's very mean and nasty, and I'm not mean and nasty.
In the end, Johnson's version of Trump had the last word.
Daddy's watching.
I'm Kevin Carr.
They are getting back together. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on a 70s rock band announcing a special tour 5 years after their famed drummer passed away.
Canadian band Rush has announced a reunion tour. 5 years after the death of drummer and lyricist Neil Peart, Rush co-founders Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson announced a 12-date, 7-city tour scheduled to start next summer. First stop is LA's Kia Forum, where the band played their final show in 2015. Geddy Lee told the AP in 2012, the fan experience is very important.
You're asking a lot of a fan to come to a show, to spend their hard-earned cash, buy a ticket and sit for 3 hours. So I want to give them more than their money's worth.
Taking Peart's place is German composer and producer Annika Niles. She previously toured with Jeff Beck. Stops for Rush include Mexico City, Chicago, New York, Toronto, and Cleveland. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, October 7th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.